Good day and welcome to my review and confession about the Triumph Bobber. If you've seen a few of my videos, you'll recognize that this Bobber is a different style motorcycle to what I normally ride. However, with that Bonneville engine, that engine is familiar. With the Bonneville 1200, normally you'll find me riding that on the T120 or on the Scramblers. But today, my confession is that I have never ridden this Bobber motorcycle before. And so it's going to be interesting to see what it's like and share my thoughts on what I think of the Triumph Bobber. After riding many Triumph motorcycles, it's an interesting fact that I haven't ridden one of these Bobber motorcycles. And so what is a Bobber exactly? After the war, gentlemen were stripping bikes down into a kind of bob job. And so what that is a chopper is where you actually chop the frame and adjust the frame accordingly. But a Bobber isn't doing that. A Bobber is keeping that standard frame angle and adjustment alignment, but it's just stripping and removing the parts. So you'll see this rear end has no double seat, and there is actually suspension hidden and tucked underneath this seat here. But you can tell that it's a very stripped down motorcycle, which actually, when you look at it, that rear is actually quite stunning. It's not one that I've looked at in much detail. It does have a certain beautiful aesthetic. It's just not one that I've ridden before or aligned with. I more prefer the kind of upright, scrambling position. The jacket you'll see me wearing in the videos is the Earlstoke jacket from Hertzend, with integrated pads on the elbows, the shoulders, and spine protector. What's great too is the zip pockets. Popping your phone and wallet in there means that you're always secure. The premium Earlstoke jacket from Hertzend, fantastic vintage styling, which does suit the Bobber aesthetic as well. I'll pop a little link in the description, so feel free to check it out on Hertzend's website. But here you can see that the foot controls have been pushed slightly forward just to open up that stance, make it more relaxed, more of a cruising style. I'm very much used to sitting on a motorcycle and being more upright on it. However, it's a nice relaxed feel that if you're looking for a bike to cruise along and you're not thinking about taking it down green lanes, country roads and kind of scrambling, then it might be the bike for you. It's a far more relaxed style, but one that's still very smart. I feel it has far more of an American style. So this is an almost British take on an American style bike. As I said, not a chopper, but a Bobber. You may be able to see that it is a lot lower to the ground. So those pipes are a lot lower, and what that means is that you may actually feel that you scrape the bottom of the motorcycle or the pegs as you ride it. I actually felt it as coming out of the driveway, scraping the bottom. I'm not sure which part of it that it was scraping, but certainly scraped something on the bottom, which is not something I'm used to with the T120 or the Scramblers. Everything is a lot lower. There's a lower center of gravity on this bike, which for that cruising feel is a lot better. For those long highway miles, it is nice being lower, probably makes you more streamlined. The Bonnevilles and the Scramblers, you're a lot more upright, which means you're probably taking on a lot more wind resistance. So for this, that more cruised style, it does lend itself to clocking more miles on the motorway or the highway. But do know that if you're then trying to bank and lean on turns, you may scrape a foot peg. So if you can see, if I lean closer here, it is very low to the ground. So just be aware of that. I noticed just cruising around some of the corners that it is a little wary to think, oh, am I going to scrape here or not? So just know that it certainly sits a lot lower than the Bonnevilles and the Scramblers. For me, I'm 6'3", and you can see that it is a little tight in the seating position for me. My knees are very far up front, and you may find that as you ride, you kind of start hugging the seat a little bit more. So yeah, just beware of that in terms of your height As I said, I'm 6'3", so you can get a good gauge of what it might be like for you. Other ergonomic features, the comfort. The bars are definitely different to the Bonnevilles and the Scramblers too, more of a relaxed feel. As I said, not quite a chopper due to the head angle being the same, but it is a more relaxed feel. You're definitely not up here, but it does have a more relaxed feel to it. So for those longer miles, as I said, on the arms, might be a lot nicer actually. As far as it goes with power, I mean, you've still got that Bonneville 1200 engine. So it definitely packs a punch, which I did feel even just taking off on the first ride. You could really feel that this bike wants to go. So if you're wanting power, oh, definitely know that you've got this on the bobber. And maybe it even feels faster too, because you're closer to the ground. It's same if you're driving in a car that's lower to the ground, like a go-kart. You may only be going 30 miles an hour, but it feels like 60 because everything's just passing by you at a faster rate because you're closer to the ground. So when it comes to engine and power and torque, with this solid 1200 Bonneville engine, you know you're covered on that front. So there's definitely no questions about that. And also when it comes to build quality, it's still a Triumph. So that build quality is still very sturdy. A lot of these parts I can tell are the same as they are on the T120. So you've definitely got a very premium feel to the motorcycle, which is fantastic. When it comes to the dash, it has that symmetrical dash, which I do quite like. And so for the modern classics, it's actually a very minimalist dial, which I do prefer to some of the Scramblers, which have a lot more going on. Of course, there's no off-road pro mode, different modes that you need to click through. Yes, there are some, but they're more limited. It's a cruising style motorcycle. So having that dash quite minimalist is actually very nice. I feel the number one reason why I've never ridden one of the bobbers before, or even a chopper for that sense, those cruisy motorcycles, is because very obviously there's one seat here. So it does mean that there's no chance of having any passengers on this motorcycle, which for me, I do love to have the option of, hey, you're going to pick a friend or a lady up, then they can join you. So for me, being very restricted to only purely having it as a solo motorcycle, that for me is a bit of a drawback because I would always love to have that option. However, that does give it a certain style that a lot of people do admire. As I said, seeing that whole rear fender is pretty cool, but it's definitely a different style to that of what I'm used to. But the way that that suspension is hidden very discreetly underneath the seat is clever because it does give it the aesthetic of a hardtail motorcycle from that vintage era, which is quite stunning. So there are a lot of design features. If you look at it from the top, how it is very symmetrical around the seat and the tank. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful bike. It's just not one that ticks all my boxes aesthetically. And if you're looking at the front end, you can tell that that suspension has been lowered as well. So you're not getting as much travel on this motorcycle as you do with the T120 and the Scramblers. And for me, I do like to take it off-road, even if they're just green lanes or dirt roads. I do enjoy having the option to be able to rip it off-road. So for me, that is another limitation with this motorcycle. However, I'm sure you could probably rip this pretty hard on dirt roads too. You just got to be careful because you've not got much dampening in the suspension, especially on the rear there. I do feel that for a stock motorcycle to have these bar end mirrors is pretty sweet actually. So the fact that Triumph as a stock motorcycle is selling something with bar end mirrors, this lower seat height, forward position, foot pegs, is pretty cool actually. But for me, you just can't beat that old English style like on the Bonneville. So for me, the bobber, it wouldn't be my first choice. However, having a look at it, taking it for a ride, it's certainly a premium motorcycle, which for some would be their first choice. It's a different style, as I say, but wonderful to be able to give it a test and take it out for a spin. But the limitation of not being able to have a passenger or even strap anything to the back. Obviously, sometimes I'm traveling around with camera gear, and so to be able to strap that on the back here, on the bobber, it's near impossible. You wouldn't want to ruin this rear fender. So the limitations and the aesthetic are what would hold me back from purchasing the bobber. But as I say, my confession is that I've never ridden one, so it is awesome to be able to tick that off the list. You can also see down here is where the ignition switch is. So what's cool is that they've made that cockpit very minimalist, which I do admire a lot. So you can see that the ignition is down lower on the motorcycle. You do still have the steering lock tucked in over here, so that's great to have, especially with rising crime rates. But you can tell that this part of the motor, being the 1200cc Bonneville engine, is the same as it is on the T120. It's just obviously foot positioning, seat, rear end, cockpit, everything's adjusted. But also this tank, you can see in that blue color, is very stunning. You'll definitely get a lot of people commenting on that because the way it glistens in the light is a beautiful color option. So they've done a great job on that.
One point I did notice is there was some rattling at this rear end. So I don't know if it was because, you know, this is kind of just a metal plate and not a seat on top, or whether it was this kind of rear mounting system, but it sounded like there was some sort of shaking going on, but it does seem rather sturdy here. So I'm not quite sure, maybe it was stones bouncing up and hitting under here.
Another point to mention was that because this foot peg here is pushed further forward, with this stand, everything is a little close and compact. So sometimes you'll catch your foot on the gear lever or the stand, the foot peg. There's just not too much space in this area when you're kicking the stand up with regards to all the levers everywhere.
You can see that the tyres also have that cruiser style, but there's no need to be ripping them off-road, so you do want something that's good for the motorway miles. Front discs on the front, so all the components are still very premium. It's still a fantastic motorcycle, but it's just a different kind of aesthetic. To wrap up my review and confession of never riding one of these bobbers, I would say that in conclusion, fantastic motorcycle, very premium. You've still got that luxury Triumph feel to it, but you've got what I would call an American style take on a British motorcycle. So if you're somebody that is looking for both, then there you have it. But for me, you just can't beat that classic British Triumph Bonneville T120. As I say, some of the design features are very well thought through, and there's a lot of crossover between the components that they used on the T120 and on the bobber. A wonderful motorcycle. Is it going to be my first choice? Likely not. But do I admire it as a brilliant bike? Yes, I most certainly do. And does it catch your eye when somebody else is out there riding this on the road? For sure. It's definitely got an awesome bobber feel to it. So yes, great bike. May not be my first choice, but I'm sure it will be for some of you viewers. Please do feel free to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts down below. There's always a lot of laughter going on in the comment section, so please do share your thoughts to the community. Always sparks some great conversation. And also please do check out Hertz End. They got great garments coming through and fantastic videos on their YouTube and Instagram. So do check them out. And if you do enjoy these review videos, then they're coming in frequently. So keep your eyes peeled, hit the notification button if you wish. Thanks so much and enjoy your day.